Acum facem o reacție la niște nigerieni fac un film cu iPhone. Mamă, fii atent aici, ce efecte bagă ăștia. Dacă n-ai de niciunele, îți vin idei geniale. Ia uite. Au învățat online, pe YouTube.
Because longer videos are simply impossible to upload due to the speed of their internet. Godwin and his team's talent were recently noticed by
Auzi că n-au viteză la internet și nu poate să le bage.
Bollywood is the name given to the growing Nigerian film industry. He posted the guy's works on his Twitter and the videos just went viral.
Wow.
Who am I? Please help me.
Fuck yeah.
What took you so long? I am here to avenge my friend.
Thanks to this, the young movie enthusiasts were able to launch a fundraiser campaign on the internet. It was pretty successful, and the team raised almost $6,000 to develop their own projects and buy better equipment. By the way, Nollywood is the second most prolific film
Au strâns bani pe internet să-și ia calculator.
Annually, it's second only to Bollywood. There's no doubt that soon Godwin and his
Sunt pe locul 2 după indieni la Bollywood.
John Magiro Wangare
din Kenya.
Developed countries in East Africa. However, the local people often don't have the opportunity to enjoy the advantages of civilization, which are pretty common in other countries. For example, in this country there are many places even without electricity.
Nici măcar n-au electricitate.
Most neighborhoods are poor and there isn't any electricity. People have to light their homes with kerosene lamps, which is not only expensive but also harmful because of the toxic gases they emit. John Magiro Wangare lives in a town where people couldn't even dream of having electricity. John had to walk 3 kilometers to buy kerosene and avoid being in the dark.
Ăsta trebuie să meargă 3 km ca să-și cumpere benzină.
This happened more than 10 years ago when John was going to school. He became interested in electricity production. He noticed that his brother's bicycle lantern generates energy through rotating pedals. So the young physicist thought,
folosește dinamo ca să facă electricitate.
Objects. He just had to find an energy source.
He
chose a small nearby river. John installed a generator and began to build
a
power plant next to it. Today it produces about 250 kilowatts.
Produce 250 de kW pe zi.
250 houses.
Pentru 250 de case. În România nu faceți de asta. Ăștia n-au de niciunele. Și fac.
From the sale of 300 rabbits. People on social media admire his talent and believe that with a bigger budget he could produce energy for all of Africa. Vegetable orchestra.
Orchestră de vegetale.
Play with food? Well, she might change her mind if you show her this video. This unusual orchestra from Austria has existed for more than 20
Ia uite-mă că asta e mai mult decât... Eu credeam că vedem numai un film de ăsta nigerian. De unde? Ăștia au tot felul de idei geniale.
These instruments are made from vegetables.
Cântă la morcovi.
Hours before each performance. What? Yes. Here you can see carrot flutes, zucchini horns, eggplant percussion, pumpkin drums, and many other wonders of musical engineering. Of course, since every time they play new instruments, the sound checks of this band are very long. By the way, the leftovers from the instrument making process are used as ingredients for the soup the orchestra offers to the audience after.
După ce cântă cu ele, își bagă scuipatul în ele, îl dă așa să mănânce.
Experimental compositions, you are very wrong. The unusual instruments are well tuned, and the talent of the musicians allows them to play classical music, Strauss, Tchaikovsky, and Stravinsky.
Dovlecei.
Have you ever wondered what happens to old graffiti? Well, of course, most of them just disappear under a new layer of paint. Sometimes, however,
stai că asta face ceva cu graffiti.
Get a second life. For example, thanks to the project of Amy Peterson from Detroit, once she went out for a morning run through the city and noticed hundreds of small pieces of paint crumbling from the walls covered with graffiti all over the city. And at that moment, she thought, what if I use them to make jewelry? At first, it sounds a little bit weird.
Face bijuterii free cu
turned out to
de
be a very viable business strategy, and the results are incredibly beautiful. But Amy didn't stop there. She didn't
Tare.
just start a profitable business. She wanted to create
Afacere
a
profitabilă.
project with a social impact. So she invited women from a homeless shelter near her home who were trying to start a new life. As you know, the
A luat
process of
femei de la
socialization and finding their
adăposturi.
place can be pretty
Le-a pus la
challenging for
muncă.
such people. And thanks to Amy's project, these
Tare.
women not only got a job, but also regained their faith in themselves.
Vezi ce înseamnă? Ia uite.
One of Amy's colleagues says that the
Colega
process of
lui
making
Amy.
jewelry reminds her of her own life, from nothing to a jewel.
Face și ea bani de la copii cu ciorba asta.
Friends call this guy the Doctor of African Mechanics. He's able to do real wonders. with
Doctorul
cars.
mecanic
He also
din
likes
Africa.
to travel in them. One day back in 1993, Emil went to Morocco, a place he knew very well, where he
S-a
had
dus în
already been
Maroco.
before. But as we know, you should always let your life
Ce a
surprise you.
făcut?
During this trip, he had some problems in the desert. He ran over a big
A
stone
avut
and broke
probleme
the chassis of the
și
car.
s-a stricat
What do you
șasiul.
do in this situation? Waiting for help was useless because the nearest settlement was 30 kilometers away. The only thing that saved Emil
Mai
at
avea
that
de
moment
mers
was his
30 de
knowledge
kilometri.
and of course his wit. So
Și?
he came up with the idea of turning his little Citroen into a motorcycle. It took him 12 days to do it. You wouldn't
În 12
believe
zile a
it,
făcut
but on the way
motocicletă
back to the
din
city, he
mașina
was
aia.
fined by the local police because his vehicle didn't look how it was supposed to, according to the documents. But that probably didn't upset Emil too much because his invention saved his life. Matt McKentigart. Do you
Mat.
think that futuristic cars from popular sci-fi films are the result of long, exhausting computer work or expensive tuning?
Asta face mașini SF.
Not always. This guy from Florida built an incredible car
Ăsta e din
using
Florida.
improvised means, and a year and a half later, the Warner
Un an
Brothers
jumătate
noticed it.
și-a
Matt
făcut mașina asta.
McKentigart was always a fan of supercars, but he didn't have the money to buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. That's why he decided to transform his own car.
Și-a făcut el un Ferrari.
So, he made the Joker's car from Suicide Squad, using his Nissan Infiniti G as a base. In order to create this beauty, Matt
făcut
and his
mașina
team used
din
the skeleton of his
filmul
old
cu
car
Batman.
and got rid of the rest. And then they created the new car from low-budget materials. Of course, changing the outside of the car wasn't enough. For example, Matt increased the power of the standard 3.5-liter engine from 280 to 400 horsepower. Thanks to this, the Joker's car could reach 100 kilometers per hour
făcut și
in just
motorul.
3.5 seconds. Mark Corvin.
Mark Corvin.
What scares us the most in horror movies? Not only the images on the screen, but
Asta e din
also
filmul
the
lui
sounds
Kubrick.
that go with it, right? There are special people who create these sounds, and that is
Asta face
exactly
efecte
what Mark,
speciale.
a composer from Canada, does. One day, the musician realized there are instruments in the world to create all sorts of sounds, except for frightening ones. He
Face
then
sunete
decided
de
to
astea
build
de
a
groază.
special instrument for this purpose. Mark was helped by a guitarist friend, and this
L-a
is the
ajutat un
result.
prieten de-a
This
lui,
invention
chitarist.
can be deservedly called the most scary instrument in the world.
Gata, m-am speriat. Hai că ne vedem data viitoare. Ăsta a fost reacția mea. Credeam că e numai cu filme nigeriene, dar tot felul de...
Luo Wenjun.
Hai să-l vedem și
And
pe ăsta.
lastly, another
Luo
musical
Wenjun.
story. This talented
Asta e
artist
tot cu
from
muzică.
China can make art using only ordinary tree leaves. He's not the most accessible, but
Cântă
also
la
the
frunze.
cheapest musical
Așa cântam și eu când
instrument
eram
in the
mic.
world, says Luo. He says he's been playing leaves since he was a child, and today he teaches other people from 7 to 70 years old. Luo tells us that
Învață și
leaves
pe
have been
copii.
used by humans for centuries to imitate the sounds of birds and insects. Later, people learned how to use this part of the tree to create melodies, and not just separate sounds, but fully fledged compositions. Luo calls himself the best leaf player in China and toured the
Cel mai
world from
tare
the USA to Italy.
cântăresc la
Do
frunze
you
din
want
China.
to know how to learn to play such an extraordinary instrument? Well, first of all, you need to choose the right leaf, says Luo. It has to be flat, soft, and at the same time.
Hai că și asta a fost ok, așa cântam și eu la frunze. Hai vedem ce următorul, dacă mai stăm sau nu.
A little before you bring it to your mouth. Try to blow gently. The leaf will start to vibrate and make a characteristic sound, which no other
Da, mă,
musical
știu,
can
n-auzi că
make.
eu și eu cântam așa? M-a spart urechile astea.
During
Chinez.
training, you'll gradually understand how the sound of the leaf changes depending on its position, and you can play all 7
A devenit
notes. There's
specialist.
no doubt about it. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on
Asta e
the
tot.
future? Do you love
Ne vedem data
huge
viitoare la
vehicles?
următorul episod. Dacă a stat până la
Imagine
sfârșit,
micro robots
bam,
around you
subscrie.
and visit